The following broadcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. While Kirk Shepard is a therapist, he's probably not your therapist, so this production should not be considered a replacement for therapy. If you are in need of professional counseling, please use a resource like psychologytoday.com, your primary care physician, or one of the many online therapy services available. If you are in crisis or having a psychological emergency, please seek assistance from your closest emergency room. And now, happy Monday! Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Happy July. It's good to be with you. I'm always excited to be here on the Monday Morning Podcast, where we talk about three things, right? Gratitude, affirmation, and productivity. My name is Kirk Shepard. I am your host every single Monday as we talk about all things mental health, but especially those three focus areas. Today we've got a jam-packed event going on as well, but let's give you an update on my life. I'll tell you what. First of all, we have the microphone on today. It's working. Sorry about last week. I recorded it and realized that I was recording through the iMac mic, not the Bluetooth mic, and so it was harder to hear me. I think we've got it all situated today. I hope that's the case. I'm very excited. Later today, I'm recording this on Sunday, so that it'll broadcast on Monday. And tonight, I have got a very special, exclusive photo shoot opportunity at Union Terminal, downtown Cincinnati, at the museum center where the trains are. And they're going to let us into areas that people don't normally get to see or photograph. And so next week, I will hopefully have some photos up for you to take a look at. Probably this week, actually. Probably, by the time you're watching this, they're probably up. But we'll let you know about that next week. Also coming up on my schedule, we've got Cedar Point in 12 days. There will not be a Happy Monday the day I'm coming back from Cedar Point, which is 2 weeks from today. So just plan accordingly. Take that week off. Figure out another way to get your needs met. I won't be here. Wow. I talk about self-care a lot. And I decided that it was time to do some self-indulgence on Friday. And so I had a haircut. I had a facial. I had a massage. Now, all those things, except for the haircut, were prepaid because I have credits at Massage Envy like crazy to use up. And I almost overdid it, I think. I was so relaxed that during the massage, which was the last thing I did, I think I started to dissociate. I was not present in my body, which is not a bad thing necessarily, but I don't know that I liked that feeling of being out of control. So we probably won't be doing all three of those relaxing things all in the same day again. Is that just a shadow, or is it something wrong with my eye? Okay, just a shadow. Sorry, I get distracted sometimes by looking at myself, which is why I like to have lots of graphics. We do a blog every Monday as well, and hopefully you've already read that, or you will soon. I'll give you a preview because they all tie together. We're trying to do a good job of synergy here, and so that's what we're going to do. We're going to do the word of the day, which ties into the blog. Word of the day is, drumroll please, listen. Today we're going to talk all about the power of listening. Listening is an art that requires attention over talent, spirit over ego, others over self. Quote by a guy named Dean Jackson. I'll read it again. Listening is an art that requires attention over talent, spirit over ego, others over self. What do you think about that? I wrote a lot about listening in the blog, and I think there's lots of ways that listening ties to our focus areas, maybe in ways you've never thought of. Specifically, I think that it ties into gratitude. I think that we can be grateful for being heard. If you think about a time when you've ever actually been heard, or when you know someone is actually actively listening to you, maybe it was a therapist that you saw, or a friend, or someone who was just really good at listening. It's almost intense and uncomfortable if somebody is super good at listening, because when you feel heard or when you feel seen by someone, it's vulnerable, but it's also something to be grateful for, because there's nothing like walking away from a conversation knowing that person got you, So I think you can be grateful for that. I also think we should be grateful for the gift of listening. I talk a lot about how I get my needs met of interaction and connection through my job. So as a professional therapist, I see lots of people every day and build relationships with them, and I spend a lot of time talking to them and listening to them. And it warms my soul to have those connections. And I'm grateful for the ability to hear their stories and to walk alongside life with them in the toughest parts of their lives, and also see them succeed and grow and change. That's the best part of my job. And also, as you know, I love stories. I love real stories. I love fictional stories. I love plays. I love movies. I love great TV. I love great books. And so I'm grateful for the power of storytelling. And we know storytelling originated in the verbal oral traditions. And those folks had to listen. There's a great storyteller named Paul Strickland who does shows at the Fringe Festival here in Cincinnati every year. And he has a upcoming storytelling festival he's part of in the fall. And one of the things about Paul's work is that it's very much, the language is very specific and precise, and oftentimes requires a deep element of listening to fully understand it. It can be hard to do in a room full of people who are shuffling their seats and unwrapping candy. But to hear Paul Strickland tell stories is an experience of pure listening bliss. So I'm grateful for all those things. I think you should be grateful too for those things, or maybe other things. And I'd love to know what your thoughts are about that, or what you think you can find in the grateful area around listening. Productivity-wise, listening is super important, because if we don't do active listening when it comes to communication in the workplace, for instance, work stops. We are not productive if we are not hearing one another, and if we're not talking to one another and communicating and listening to what our coworkers, supervisors, and people underneath us are saying. Truly hearing promotes the ability to understand people's perspectives, their ideas, and listening to feedback provides better collaboration, problem solving, and more efficient task execution. Listening also works in the productivity world as a way to gather information. If you listen and pay attention and really hear someone, you gain a lot of knowledge. And listening, and it's a mindfulness exercise, will increase your ability to focus. We're going to do that in a little bit when we do our mindfulness today. We're going to actually really focus on listening. So the word of the day, listen. I hope that you find that helpful. And we're going to give you in just a second some tools to become an active listener. But I thought I'd take a break for a second and tell you what I've been discovering this week. I love that song. I find that really fun. Hey, so I spun the wheel last week, right, and came up with this book directed by James Burrows, which I have started to read, and it's really, really good. I need to get more into it. I just watched an interview with him this morning. It's an older interview, but it was with Jimmy Kimmel, and he touches on some of the things in the book and the shows he's been part of, and he's just a fascinating guy. If you like classic television, then you know who Jimmy Burrows is. I'm also reading this book, A Flaw in the Design by Nathan Oates. I like to have a nonfiction and a fiction book going at the same time, and I'd actually already started this one before we spin the wheel. And I'm very intrigued by where this is going. It's a kind of a thriller, psychological thriller, and I'm enjoying that. So I've discovered those things. I'm also rediscovering my writing. I'm working on taking Chase the Dragon, the play that I wrote, and turning it into a novel. which is a lot of work because even though the structure and the story bones are there, novels require a lot more detail, a lot more description, and maybe more characters. And so I'm working through that, and I've got several books on my desk that I'm looking through now. This is the main one I think I'm going to probably be using is Save the Cat Writes a Novel, which will help me with the story beats. I'm also going to maybe look through this again, Story Genius, which talks about story science and how the brain reacts to story. And then we'll probably look at this too, book in a month, just to see if it's helpful. I might save this for the next one of a fresh idea and start from scratch with that because that might be more appropriate. But those are the things that I am learning, discovering, reading, watching. I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark again this weekend, getting ready for the Indiana Jones movie when I finally see that, the new one. It's as good as I remember. And I also watched Witness because I went on a Harrison Ford rabbit hole. And I thought that was such a great film from the 80s. I remember watching that one when I was a kid and thinking it was great. It might be the first rated R movie I ever saw. So that's what I've been listening to, discovering, watching, and learning about. What about you? Love to hear it. Tell me in the comments. All right, so let's move on to learning how to become an active listener. Yeah? So I'm going to give you 5 tips and tools to help you with active listening. First of all, you got to pay attention. That means taking your phone and putting it away, putting it on the table upside down, putting it in your pocket, putting it in your purse, whatever you got to do to give that speaker your undivided attention because you want to acknowledge the message that's happening. Nonverbal communication speaks loudly. I have found that looking at the speaker directly, putting aside distracting thoughts, occasionally nodding in agreement when you understand something with the speaker, helps you also become more engaged. Here's also something very important. As you are listening to someone, do not be preparing a rebuttal. Your job as a listener is not to think about what you're going to say back. Your job is to take in information, and if that means that you are slow to respond, that's actually probably good. If you actually have a chance to respond, you want to make sure that it's thoughtful, but you don't want to do that while the person is telling you something. We need to avoid side conversations. When you're in a room full of other people, you want to make sure you're paying attention and being polite, but also because you want to hear what's being done. That's active listening, okay? Number 2, you want to show that you're listening. So the person that you're talking with would like to know that you're engaged. I guarantee you that nodding your head, occasional, yeah, those things are helpful as someone's telling a story or telling you something that they believe is important to them because you want to make them feel connected. You also want to pay attention to your posture. This is not a great way to listen. Now, sometimes it's comfortable, and I find myself sometimes naturally doing this, and I don't think it's the worst cardinal sin in the world that you might hear in Counseling School 101. But I will tell you that open posture, if you can sit open with your arms outstretched or your arms still not folded, not in front of you, opening up your body to receive the information, that is a much better way to actively listen. When it's time, active listening also encourages positive feedback, providing feedback. Our personal filters, assumptions, judgments, and beliefs can distort what we hear. So, as a listener, your role is to understand what is being said, and this may require you to reflect on what's being said and ask questions for clarification. You can reflect by paraphrasing, what I'm hearing is, what I think I heard you say is, or sounds like you're saying. Those are great ways to reflect back and make sure you're on the right page. You can also ask questions to clarify certain points, like, what do you mean when you say da-da-da? Is this what you mean? And explain it. Summarize the speaker's comments periodically. If you find yourself responding emotionally to what somebody says, say so. As a therapist, I do that often. If someone's telling me something and I'm not jiving with it emotionally, and it's appropriate at that time, I will say to them, something's not connecting here. We need to figure out what it is that I'm feeling to help you figure out what you're feeling. And I usually start with by asking them if they know what they're feeling, and they may not know. And so then I say, well, I'm not feeling like we're aligned here because you're telling me a very sad, sad story, and there's no tears. There's no sign of sadness. Tell me about that. And that's an advanced skill. It's something that you should do only when you're trained and in the right to do it with someone. But asking for clarification and explaining your emotional reaction to things is not a bad thing as long as you do that respectfully and for the sake of the talk of the speaker. It might be something where you say, may not be understanding you correctly. I find myself taking what you said personally. If you're getting feedback from someone who's giving you difficult feedback, that's also okay to say. What I thought I heard you say is this. Is that what you meant? And getting that person the opportunity to clarify so that you don't walk away from a difficult conversation feeling hurt or resentful. Those are positive, important things to do. When you're actively listening, you want to defer judgment. Number 4, defer judgment. Interrupting is a waste of time. It frustrates the speaker and limits full understanding of the message. Now, I'll tell you, if you're in counseling school, again, interruptions is an interesting thing. I have found that I only have an hour of session of therapy. And some people, when they're anxious or unfocused and they're telling a story, will go down rabbit holes or get distracted. And there's value in that at times, but there's also times where I have to interrupt and bring them back to the message they were trying to send. So interrupting for you to make your point or make your case is not good. Interrupting to keep the speaker on task might be okay. You want to make sure that you allow the speaker to finish their points before you ask questions. Don't interrupt with counter arguments, especially when you're in a presentation and trying to actively listen. Save that for after to have a conversation. Number 5, and the last one, you want to respond appropriately. Active listening is designed to encourage respect and understanding. You're gaining information and perspective. You add nothing when you start to attack the speaker or otherwise put them down. Be candid, open, and honest in your response, but assert your opinions respectfully. Treat the other person in a way that you think they would want to be treated, or better yet, in a way that you would want to be treated. Okay? So that's how we actively listen. Most of you probably already know those things. Most of you probably practice those things regularly, but it's a good refresher for all of us, including those of us who will professionally listen, to make sure we're paying attention to the basics and to make sure we're connecting and being active in that habit. I think we should meditate, but I want to do something a little different. We're going to turn this on, but I'm going to turn the sound off today. And I want you to take some time as we open up our bodies and get ourselves in the right position, in the right posture, to listen to the room around you. To really listen. What do you hear? I hear the creaking of my chair. I hear the buzz of the microphone and a little bit of the air in the sky in the room because the microphone is so loud. Sometimes I hear the refrigerator or the dishwasher running. Sometimes I hear my own body making interesting noises, like when I'm hungry. And sometimes I hear silence. Now, the first rule of radio is no dead air, but this isn't radio. This is a mental health podcast, and so I would encourage you to take some time and listen to the silence. Because in that silence, you may discover things. You may hear things. You may be given messages, clarifications. If you believe in a higher power, it could be the opportunity you now have to communicate with them. It also might be just a chance for you to rest and trust your instincts and allow yourself to become one with yourself. But what I want you to do the rest of the week, each morning, is to take about 2 minutes at least, if not 5, and just sit in silence and listen. Can you do that? To breathe. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. One more time. Breathe in. Breathe out. When you're ready, come back to me. So, one last thing about listening, and I think that I've put here it is. It's more in the world of affirmation. What I want you to do is to know that listening also impacts gratitude, impacts productivity. It also impacts affirmation. One, obviously, and through affirming other people, but also affirming ourselves. Highlighting the role of self-affirmation by fostering a positive mindset and self-esteem is very, very important to good mental health. So as you're listening to yourself, pay attention to what you're telling yourself. Pay attention to your body and what it's saying to you. Pay attention to your mind and what it's saying to you. Pay attention to your soul and what it's saying to you. Is it asking for more rest? Is it asking for more kindness? Is it asking for more activity? What is it that you are hearing yourself say as far as your needs? I want you to also practice hearing affirmation statements. I am worthy. I am good enough. I am loved. I am smart. I am attractive. I am the bomb.com. Whatever it is you need to say to yourself, I want you to hear it. And I also want you to know that you are heard. You can reach out anytime to hear, and if you're having an issue and need to talk, you can do that. I may refer you to a therapist who's not me. I may just provide some feedback for you, some encouragement. But if you're one of our listeners, one of my watchers, one of my readers, I want you to know that I hear you, and I value you, and I'm grateful for you, and I love you, and I'm glad that you're here, and I hope that you're getting something out of these Monday morning meetings, or whenever you listen or watch. I hope that you're getting something out of this Happy Monday experience. I'm having a ball. It's a lot of work to come up with ideas, but it stretches my creative muscles, and that's a good thing. And so I'm really grateful to do it, and I'm really happy that you're all here. I think that's going to do it for I don't even know what time it is, but I think that's going to do it for today. I feel like that's a good stopping place. We've covered a lot of ground. Word of the day, of course, listen to others and to yourself. And then now, get ready. Go out there and tackle the day. Be kind to others, but be kind to yourself. And I will see you next Monday, right here on Happy Monday with Kirk Shepard. Have a great week, everybody.